So the first of the final few updates for Kingdom Hearts Union Cross has finally released, and it gives us some new insight into the Master of Masters, potentially his goal, the Keyblade War, and even the Keyblade's truth. So let's go ahead and talk about these things. I'm going to give you guys a quick summary of it, and then I'm going to give you guys kind of a little bit of my thoughts as I always do. So when the Master of Masters was but a boy, the Keyblade War had begun. He claims there technically were other Keyblade wielders back then, however he is the only relevant one. I want to put emphasis on that fact that he says technically other wielders were around in his youth, because where this goes in the future may make or break the lore behind the Keyblade War. It was said that the Master of Masters created the Keyblade and shaped them in the likeness of the X-Blade. This is why before back cover we was thinking that he actually was the wielder of the X-Blade. Young Xehanort even seconds this statement in the new recoded cutscene, stating that No Name or the Master of Masters Keyblade is the most ancient. So if it's revealed that back then he did in fact use his power to create the Keyblade, then maybe that's where these other wielders or how these other wielders came about. This war was between light and darkness per usual, however darkness took on a special form. Not humans, but something like it, but also not heartless either. I wonder if what he mean is that the forces of darkness were enigmatic like Lu Shu and himself. They were faceless, and that claim is meant to be a fourth wall breaker, informing the player that darkness back then essentially had no shape nor form. As pre-Kingdom Hearts 3, it could be argued that the Master and Lu Shu may not have a form. During the days of data mining for Kingdom Hearts 2.8, the models for the Master of Masters and his 6 apprentices can be modified to reveal their faces. However, they did take the time to give Ansem the Wise. His model did in fact have a face of some shape. Maybe this is due to the fact that when 0.2 was a part of Kingdom Hearts 3, Aqua was meant to encounter Ansem right there, like the Seeker of Darkness. She was meant to encounter him right there. Of course, it probably would have had some little weird way of skipping over what we've already seen from the conversation between Ansem the Wise and Aqua. But of course, that moment when she reaches the Dark Margin and has that confrontation with Ansem the Seeker of Darkness was potentially supposed to happen within 0.2, and that may be how Ansem still wound up with his face textures. But I digress. The Master claims darkness over the years has taken many forms, and that's why the war has never ended. But with the war between his apprentices and their subsequent unions, the world will end and the war will stop, allowing the Master to take a break, making it sound as if the Master has been chasing the darkness and its many forms trying to stomp it out. But he also reveals here that the darkness can't truly be destroyed, so I don't know why he's given such a big chase, or why he was given such a big chase to the darkness in the first place. But he has finally come to the ultimate climax of his plans, which was the destruction of the world. Sounds familiar if you ask me.
The light, the symbol of the world's hope, was devoured by shadow, leaving nothing but ruin and utter failure. But the first light, the light of Kingdom Hearts, it can give us a new start.
So in other things the Master says, which is pretty interesting because he lays this out, and I feel like people probably miss it, so I'm going to lay it out again here. He mentions 3 different phases. The starting point of Chi, in other words, those who could collect Chi without falling to darkness, which would lead to the training of Unchained, those whose hearts could endure the training mentioned by Alva at the end of back cover. Remember Ephemer's disappearance and how Alva put the player character through the trials of becoming a dandelion, even though they initially refused the offer? That's kind of, I think, what he meant there. And then the execution of Union Cross. This, I believe, is the phase meant to represent the crossing of world lines and the recreation of the world after the destruction due to the Keyblade War. So I think that's what he means by these 3 phases of course, the war and stuff. And maybe this is going to be exactly how they try to outline Kingdom Hearts Chi, with these 3 phases, with each game potentially having a meaning of its very own. Unchained being unchained from their world because, of course, they go to the data world, like we saw at the ending of Unchained Key. And then, of course, Union Cross is potentially going to be the crossing of the world lines. As we do know, the Union leaders are now in the phase of trying to find out exactly how to get the Keyblade wielders or the Dandelions back to the real world. And then we come to the final portion, which is his contingency plan, which is based on the Dandelions reshaping the world, claiming they're the cornerstone of this process. People believe the Dandelions or their light became the cornerstones of light. However, cornerstones also mean foundation, so perhaps he just meant they're the basis of the revival of the world. All we know about cornerstones of light is that they're so bright they stave off darkness. Although in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep, both games shoot down that idea pretty fucking hilariously, with Maleficent and the Unversed just invading Disney Town and Disney Castle relatively easily. In the former, of course, the excuse was that Pete was doing something to the Cornerstone of Light, or he took the Cornerstone of Light, and Maleficent invasion with the Heartless and stuff was brought about by him doing so. But with Birth by Sleep, of course, they never even showed anything happening to the Cornerstone of Light. And the Unversed, beings of pure darkness created through Vanitas' negative emotions, were able to just roam around in, of course, Disney Town. So I find it hard to believe that, of course, the Cornerstones of Light have anything to do with this. I think he probably says cornerstones for an ironic type of thing. But cornerstone, when you look up the definition, basically does mean the basis of, like, you know, some foundation, or the foundation itself, if you want to put it in short. So let me know what you guys think about this stuff. As far as I'm personally concerned, the only thing that worries me, it's cool that we finally got more insight into the Master of Masters. He know that he was young at some point, meaning that he definitely did age. I do have a theory about the Master of Masters now from all of this information that we got, but I'll talk about that in another video. The only thing that worries me is when he mentions the Keyblade wielders from back when he was a boy and how there was a Keyblade war back then. Did he give people Keyblades back then and then that's how a Keyblade war started? Or did Keyblades exist before he was even born, if he was born in the first place? And now, of course, there's going to be an even further back point to Kingdom Hearts that we have to go to finally get to the Keyblade's truth, which is something that has been brought up since the Xehanort saga entered Birth by Sleep. And now, of course, as we move forward, are we going to have to go even further beyond the Master of Masters? Are they making this plot line so that way they can be an even greater threat beyond the Master of Masters by the time Kingdom Hearts 4 rolls around, so that way when the Master of Masters saga is complete, then we can get that character saga and it can just keep going? But I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that the Master of Masters is truly the creator of the Keyblade. And of course, when I said that his goal to just take a break, but of course by doing so with the whole destruction of the world, when I said that it sounds familiar, I meant Xehanort. Like, you know, maybe he encouraged Xehanort to destroy the world again, and that could be why, of course, he keeps on seeming to be evil, because maybe he just wants the world to end. From what it sounds like, the Master of Masters can create world lines, because the Book of Prophecies can apparently create world lines. So if he can, then of course it would make sense that he may just want that world to end, so that way he can just be done with it. So let me know what you guys think about this stuff. This is me, Amaziah. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming, and everything you do, don't forget to keep it A-class. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace the heck out.
Y'all